In this episode, I got to hear from Greg and Mitch again, talking nonprofit events. How can you use nonprofit events to not only benefit your community, but to help fill gaps at your facility and drive revenue? Yes, nonprofits do good out there, but they also make money. And so you as a facility can charge a discounted rate, which help them out and help them get exposure through running your programming at your facility. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the Facility Playbook on nonprofit events with Greg and Mitch from KC Crew. What's up, everybody? Do you own or manage a facility? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Facility Playbook. I'm Luke Wade, founder and CEO of Facility Ally, and this podcast is about helping facility managers and owners learn from pioneers and veterans in the industry who have built and managed successful sports facilities, entertainment venues, and clubs. Did you know that most of those facilities I just mentioned use between 4 and 6 different softwares to manage their reservations, memberships, leagues, camps, clinics, and more? Facility Ally to the rescue. Revolutionize your facility with Facility Ally's all-in-one system. Learn more at facilityally.com. And here we are again, back at KC Crew, in the KC Crew office here at Hy-Vee Arena with Greg, General Manager of KC Crew, and Mitch, League Director. We've been here before. We like to do some deep dives into managing different things. KC Crew does a little bit of everything, and so we've already talked before with them about leagues. We've talked about tournaments, and this one's going to kind of encompass a little bit of tournaments, but we're here today to talk about nonprofit fundraising. As a for-profit company, you may not think, or a for-profit facility, you may not think about nonprofits and helping nonprofits to facilitate a fundraising tournament, but we at KC Crew have actually seen the opportunity over the last couple years and really dove in deep to it. So Greg, Mitch, maybe give us a little bit of a high level of, what is KC Crew, and then what does it do for these nonprofit tournaments?
Yeah, so KC Crew, kind of a twofold system. So largest adult sport and social league in Kansas City, 15,000 annual players. That's all the 25 to 34 age demographic, all different parts of Kansas City. So the airport to Liberty to Lee Summit to Olathe, everywhere in between. That's our audience who's coming together to play these weekly leagues, who we're in front of, 365 days a year. On the other side is our events. So we were founded in 2012. We've been doing pub crawls, tailgates, 5Ks, all different sorts of fun public events, throughout our time that we've been in existence. And over the past probably 4 or 5 years, we've seen the issues of, public events. There's 2 issues that are happening. One, ticket sales as a whole are just dropping. That's not just us, it's every industry across the board. And we've learned that through conversations with people in all different industries. The other thing is people are waiting more and more till the last minute to sign up for an event. So if you're booking a DJ and closing a street down and doing 5 other things that you have to know 3 weeks out to get your deposit back, that makes your life very stressful, and more stressful than it probably should be on a fun event. So we said, how do we pivot? So with our events, we kind of pivoted to a 3-pronged effort. So one, smaller monthly events, so pickleball tournaments, cornhole tournaments, networking events, really just stuff that we know how to do, that's easy, consistent, it's stress-free. If everyone signs up the day of the event, that's no problem for us. Second is a private realm, so the corporate sector, team building events, again, the fun corporate tournaments, pickleball, cornhole, trivia, virtual events, all stuff for the younger demographic, for a business to provide as an extra benefit to get them to stay. And then the third is what we're talking about today, the nonprofit side. And KC Crew as a whole, I've actually been here from 2014 to 2018. I left and then got back in August of 2021. I haven't really had my hands on a lot of the nonprofits that we had been doing, which we've done a graveyard 5K for the Elmwood Cemetery. It helps raise funds for Kansas City's oldest cemetery. We've been a part of Art That Blows, something that you helped found, a super awesome fundraising event for Band of Angels. And then Noah's Bandage Run that we partnered with Noah's Bandage Project. It's a 5K to help raise funds for them. And Volley Llama, that was actually where this kind of nonprofit idea sparked. And you were actually the one that it sparked with. So if you want to kind of talk through how it clicked in your head.
Yeah, and to your point, I actually started a nonprofit years ago when I started KC Crew called Social Heart, and the idea was helping different nonprofits raise money through fundraising. And so when I started KC Crew, I had the same idea of if we throw a pub crawl, maybe we can have a nonprofit involved to help with volunteers, and then we can pay some of the money to the nonprofit. And it was great and awesome, and it worked for years and years and years, and we were able to raise a couple $1,000s per event here and there. So not a game changer when you're talking about a couple $1,000s for a nonprofit. Still great, a great way for us to give give back, still helpful, great for exposure. But when Volley Llama came along, it was put on by this amazing organization in Kansas City. It was for the Noah's Vantage Run, but you had people like Charlie Hustle and several other groups, Chicken and Pickle, coming together to put on this really cool fundraiser for the group at Noah's Vantage Project, and they called it Volley Llama. And so they brought us in through our partnership and working with Chicken and Pickle to help run the back end and staff it and manage it for them. And what we were able to do was essentially create a tournament that helped them raise several $100,000. So make a huge difference for a nonprofit. And you know, in that event, we were the engine just running the tournament. That's what we do. We know how to run tournaments. We can staff them. We can make them a great experience. And then their team handled all the sponsorship, the management of the facility, the logistics of everything. And so along the years, as it's grown, we've been able to help take a bigger part in that and help them in bigger ways. And so a couple years ago, I had the idea of like, well, if we're helping Noah's Vantage Project do this, maybe there's a way we can help offer this to other nonprofits. Because what we're seeing in the market is, like Greg said, our traditional pub crawls, our regular events, were kind of diminishing. And so it's not really hard to make money and run an event when you see people not signing up for the last minute or not signing it up at all. And so essentially, what do you do in that scenario? And so we thought it would be better to help nonprofits with our expertise, guarantee a tournament, get the people to come out and play, and help them raise a little bit of money. And also what we've seen, nonprofits are seeing the same thing. People aren't signing up for their traditional golf tournaments. They're not signing up for their galas. Young demographics of adults are not wanting to get dressed up for a gala every weekend. You know, they want to be casual. They want to support, but you know, a lot of them aren't playing golf. It's a little bit harder. And then sponsorships. That's where nonprofits make the majority of their money. And so companies are tired of sponsoring a golf tournament every single year with the same people showing up to it or less people. They're tired of sponsoring galas. And so for nonprofits, just like Casey Crew is a for-profit, we've got to continue to evaluate what's working, what's not working. We've got to innovate and make things better. And so for these nonprofits, we thought, hey, let's give you a vehicle, this pickleball tournament, this cornhole tournament, a wiffle ball tournament, a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Let's provide the vehicle and the engine to help you go sell sponsorship to make money to your people, your sponsors who love your goal or your mission. But essentially, you don't have the cool thing to give to these new sponsors, this cool opportunity to give to your new donors. So let us be the engine behind that and let you go do what you do best, create the connections, get the sponsorship, and then let us run it for you. And so that at a high level was the idea that we had several years ago. But you know, it's trials and tribulations and pricing and figuring out, did this work, did that work? You know, we've been really testing and figuring that out with several nonprofits over the last couple of years. And Greg's really led the charge. So maybe you just want to, at a high level, you know, what are some of the different nonprofit fundraisers that we've done?
Yeah, so kind of getting into it all. So really the start of this year, 2023, is where it really kind of ramped up and we started to dive into it. So first thing we did, you know, we have our resources in Kansas City in the nonprofit world. So instead of just diving right in, because we're the events team, we know how to do a pickleball tournament. We don't know the ins and outs of how a nonprofit operates, how they typically raise their funds, what events they've been doing. You know, how can we get creative with it? So we tapped into Nonprofit KC, Support KC, or not Nonprofit Connect, Support KC. Katie Lord was a massive help for us. So we really wanted to come in to the nonprofit experts, say, here's what we want to do. We want to come in, we want to help it. We've seen the blueprint. We know how it's done. We know what we can do. Essentially, how do we get into it? So we asked, look for advice on the pricing, the conversations, the team registrations, really any information that we were looking for, we tapped into our resources. And again, you talked about trials and tribulations. So we talked with them and then we started our outreach. So just emailing nonprofits, getting a hold of them saying, hey, here's what we want to do. Here's how we're going to go about it. Here's our pricing. We came in a little high on the pricing side up front. But again, we were coming off of Volley Llama where we helped an organization raise $300,000. So why shouldn't we try for that? So that was our goal. Whatever we're the events team, so we're essentially hired in as a contract to come in, put on the event, but the money coming to us is a fraction of what is going to the nonprofit. So with that, we came in too high. We said, hey, our goal is, like I just said, to be a fraction of it. Let's bring it way down. Goal would be, go to a nonprofit. Let's put on an awesome event year one. You make X, we're down here. That's what we're making. Let's bring it again in year 2, year 3. Let's make it an annual thing because that's our goal. We don't want to be working with 40, 50 different nonprofits every single year, a different group, a different event, a different spot. We want to team up with, 10 to 15 who, believe and will really have the resources to handle the sponsorship side, which I can talk about here in a little bit. But, there is a little bit of work on the nonprofits end, but we pull all that extra time they would spend into figuring out how to run the tournament, then they reallocate that onto the sponsorship side.
Yep, and I think it's important, a lot of times I was very guilty of this when I first got to Kansas City and started my own business. I didn't think of a nonprofit as a business. When I found out that a nonprofit was hired somebody full-time to run it, I was like, I thought you should have just worked for free for a nonprofit. But I learned the hard way, if you want somebody to truly be dedicated to something, you obviously have to compensate them for that. And so nonprofits have, they have staff, they pay people. And so in order to do that, they need to make money. And how do they do that? Through events, through sponsorship, through fundraising. And so after a while, you've tapped into the same fundraisers over and over for years. You've got to bring in new fundraisers. And how do you do that if you're doing an old gala that no young people want to go to? And so we're essentially giving you those engines to help bring in young people. And to your point, yes, you're a nonprofit, but you have a budget. And so you can hire us to essentially be your vehicle to make much more money by using us in that way. And so I think it's really important to remember that, you don't have to do everything for free for nonprofits. It is as much as you can do. I know we offer discounts, we offer promotions. We do as much as we can do as a business for those nonprofits. But at the end of the day, if we're providing a service and a value and we can help them make money and more money than they're paying us, it's a win for everybody. So again, win, win, win is one of our key metrics when we talk about all of our leagues, our tournaments, our nonprofits. We try and create a win for everybody. So maybe talk about what it looked like. Volley Lamo became a beast because it's a huge team. It's a lot of big companies working on that, and that's how they were able to raise $300,000. So to your point, we came in like, hey, we're going to help a nonprofit raise $300,000, but just like us, we need resources to execute. And so maybe let's talk about we went in thinking we were going to raise X, and then we learned differently.
Yeah. So to deep dive on the Volley Lama piece, it's a massive, it's a who's who tournament. It's the biggest players in Kansas City: Charlie Hustle, Sporting KC, Chicken and Pickle, Whiskey Design. That's the committee. It's people who have outreach within the entire town outside of Kansas City, so they can go out. They have a sponsor who's going to pay $5,000 to put a team into this event. Not a lot of other nonprofits are going to have that sort of outreach, which is what we learned after kind of diving in, and starting down that route. So, really, scaling back our pricing, talking with them, saying, hey, a lot of nonprofits are also dealing with staffing issues, just like every single other, industry in the world is dealing with right now, us included. But they don't have the time to put towards planning the event. So us being that vehicle, like you said, really just coming in as, let us pull everything off your plate for you. Like we're the planning, the location, the consulting, the sponsorship, we can assist with that. The day of, I've been to nonprofit events. There's been organizations who we've tried to work with. They've essentially said, no, we're going to do it ourselves. We said, all right, cool, awesome. We actually go and play in the event just to see how it is, experience it. And I get there, and the nonprofit is the one having to check people in, having to work at their own event. They don't get to talk to their partners, their sponsors, their attendees. They don't get to talk about their message, possibly get new board members, new volunteers. That should be their goal during their event, not having to work and run the registration table. So that's kind of an added benefit that we do where, hey, not only are we going to help you plan your event, the day of, your goal is to come here, have fun, interact, have a couple drinks, and celebrate your organization. Where we're the firefighters. We're checking people in from the moment they step onto the facility. We're welcoming them with a smile. Hey, how's it going? Are you playing in the tournament? Do you know where to go? Here's the timeline of everything. Restrooms are over there. Let us know if you have any questions. So that's really where we want, we want to be that all-in-one team. So, because a nonprofit, again, they don't have the time to, spend any extra beyond just getting a sponsor to say yes.
Well, and I think it's really important to focus on what you're good at, no matter what it is. Throw in a tournament, which if you check out the tournaments episode, you can figure out how we run tournaments efficiently. These nonprofits have never run a pickleball tournament, a cornhole tournament, but those are the new hot things, so they're all trying to do it. So they're not sure how to market it, they're not sure how to run it, and so to Greg's point is like, why are you running a pickleball tournament when you're good at fundraising and you could bring in more dollars? Hire someone to run the pickleball tournament, to check people in, to manage it, so that you can go out there and raise the most money possible on the one-time event that you're doing.
And I was going to touch on that. Like, we're the experts on running tournaments, on running these events. We've done them for years for profit. Let's take what we know, go help someone raise a bunch of money where it's a win-win for them. They don't have to worry about the logistics. That time they're spending on planning, on finding teams, on all that kind of stuff, they can spend more and get more sponsors, eventually raising more money for the nonprofit and the event. We also have a staff. So we run leagues with 60 part-time staff members where, you're paying us. Well, part of that payment is going to be for army of staff. So depends how big the tournament is. We can bring 2 to 5 staff members out there who are going to show up. Unfortunately, sometimes with volunteers, they might not show up, and then the nonprofit is short people, and they're having to run the registration table, fires, or down people, where when you hire us to run the event, we're going to bring our staff members out there. Our staff members get paid a little higher than just a normal league event because it's a one-time event. We're going to hire our best staff members to come out there, be the best representation of us, and be the best representation of the nonprofit as well. So they don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We've dealt with all that with running our leagues, with running tournaments and events, so we know how to put out fires because we've been doing it for years. It's just in a different facet now.
Yep. And I think that's a great point, is every nonprofit ever relies on volunteers. It's a really important piece of it. But when it comes down to the experience of your event, if you don't have the volunteers, they don't show up, whatever happens, they're volunteers, it's going to happen, then you're kind of screwing over all the participants who signed up for that event and have a bad experience. So to that point, it makes sense to hire someone to bring out staff to make sure, to guarantee they're going to be there to run it, to make sure it's a great experience so that you can grow it over year after year and raise more money every single year. The gala you've been running for 30 years, the golf tournament you've been running for 20 years, it had to start somewhere. So we're here to help you essentially start, a new yearly tournament, a new yearly event that's going to help you fundraise for years and years to come. So I think that the staffing part of it is really important as well. So what does Casey Crew offer that other organizations don't for these nonprofits?
Yeah, I think just the organization, we are, like I said, the full events team. I know there's, again, the pickleball tournament that I went to, they teamed up with the venue that they were at. They said the venue was hosting the tournament. But again, when I showed up, the nonprofit still had a piece to, they had responsibilities on the day of the event. So again, we are that full events team. So we can advise on the event consulting. So we can help with the event location, where we think would, be the best place to do it based on, parking, part of town that it's in, accessibility, the time of day, how long to do the tournament. You could do, some people may do, a 7-hour tournament for a nonprofit, which don't ever do that because they're there for the nonprofit. They're there to have fun. The tournament's not the main reason why. That they are there for the tournament to compete, but they're there for the nonprofit. So you want them to get in, have fun, but you don't want them to drag on to be a long negative experience for them. And then again, we just talked about it, but just being the firefighters the day of, we've seen every single problem 10 times over, so we know how to handle everything. We can pivot on the spot. We handle the event. It's really just taking all their worries, all their woes, all their stress about the event off the plate for them, and that comes on us where it's really not stress for us because we know what we're doing.
Sure.
And we have the tools to run an efficient event and tournament, whether it be the technology that we use to run our public tournaments, our leagues. We bring that into the nonprofit event as well and make it a streamlined event where we know what we're doing because we do it every day. That is our expertise. We're experts at events, tournaments, and leagues. So hire us. You don't have to worry about anything. Back to the experience. It's a better experience for all the people paying to be there because they get to interact with the nonprofits as we bring all the equipment. You don't have to buy equipment for your event because we will bring all that kind of stuff. That's what we do.
And then, on the sponsorship side too, like we've seen the blueprint, so we can come in and really advise on what are the sponsorship levels, how much should each sponsorship cost, how many sponsorships of each level do we have, what comes with it. We work with you to see what value you can add, what value we can add, and really how to maximize each sponsorship. Because again, that's going to be your money making. If you're trying to make money off team registration, we shouldn't be doing an event.
I think I'm going to touch on that in a second, but what you said earlier about facility, we're one-stop shop. Casey Crew is the one-stop shop, and we can help you find a location. Because we run leagues and tournaments and events all over the city, we know every facility's out there. We know the pricing. We have relationships. So if you're looking to do an event or a nonprofit fundraiser, we can help identify the best location. We already have a relationship there. We can help you get discounts. So it helps going through us because we already have those relationships. If you're your own facility looking to get started and running this, you have the facility. You know the pricing, you know your cost, you also know your gaps. Casey Crew is a gap filler, so we go to facilities and we try and fill some of their gaps to help them bring more revenue. Well, if you're the facility, you know where your gaps are, so you can help work with these nonprofits to identify we have a gap here. And if you guys come in, we'll either give you the courts for free because we know we're going to make money off food and beverage, or we'll discount the courts dramatically because we know you're going to bring 100 people in when we wouldn't have had 100 people. So I think that's important if you own your own facility to look at the gaps and then offer discounts or offer what makes sense to you as a facility. And then to your point, teams versus sponsorship. So everyone, including Casey Crew, every nonprofit's out there trying to run a pickleball tournament now, right? So we need teams of 2 to sign up for $100 and you're going to play in this pickleball tournament. Well, now you're competing with Casey Crew, you're competing with all these other nonprofits trying to run one-off tournaments and trying to get 2 people at a time to sign up for their team for a pickleball fundraiser. And to Greg's point earlier, they may not know anything about your nonprofit, so why would they sign up in a tournament they don't know anything about? They don't know the competition level. To what we said earlier, the people playing on the weekends are looking for competition. So in that way, maybe let's talk about why we shouldn't go after team registration versus why you should go after sponsorship.
Yeah, it's the marketing side. If you're going after just the general public as a nonprofit trying to market to them, where do you even start? That's a tall task, as opposed to, let's say, you either do a $100 team registration to a public, or you already have your list of sponsors and donors, turn it into a $500 team or team sponsorship, which gets them a team, which gets them, a mention during the tournament, and then whatever other value pieces we can add to the sponsorship. So that turns that one public team that you're hoping signs up into a connection that you already have that's going to be a higher value, sponsorship going towards your organization. So you're getting the same thing at the end of the day. You're getting that team spot, but you're maximizing the value. You're making your sponsors happy, because then they get to put a team in. They get to come play pickleball. Like, we've got to play pickleball in Volley in 2022 as Casey Crew, and Matt Beasler. He kicked our butt, but it was a lot of fun. So having the sponsors come participate in that event is just an extra step. It's more than just a sponsor's sign or logo on a banner. They're engaged, they're activating, they're playing. Also, if it's their younger audience for your company, that's 2 younger members who are coming out to the event, which is what your nonprofit, as a nonprofit, you're looking for your future volunteers, your future board members. You're looking for the 25 to 34 audience who's probably going to be coming out and playing through that sponsorship. So our emphasis has always been sponsor over just a general public for teams and court sponsors, tournament sponsors, whatever it may be.
And sponsorship wise, since we know the tournaments, we know the events, we know where we can add on additional sponsorship opportunities. So Greg had the great idea of cornhole events. Let's do sponsored boards, so they get to bring home something from the event with them, rather than just a sign that's hanging up. Oh, thank you to our sponsor blank. Thank you to our sponsor blank, but it's on a cornhole board that looks awesome, that they get to take from the event back to their home, back to their work, that has the event, it's a piece of the event, has the event logo on it, and it lives on forever with that sponsor.
Sure. No, that makes a ton of sense. And I think, it's as easy as that sounds, it's a little bit challenging. You're probably not going to get the one-off teams to sign up, so I wouldn't do it, but it is definitely challenging to go sell these larger sponsorships to companies. You got to have the relationships as a nonprofit. You got to have these things. So your nonprofit, you need to find ones that are kind of well established, that essentially have those relationships and are confident they can sell those type of sponsorships. From the Casey Crew side, we do this already. We run cornhole tournaments, pickleball tournaments, events. We have sponsorship. We sell sponsorship. So we know exactly what the value of things are, the cost of things are, so we can help you identify, here's a sponsorship level, you can get your boards branded, you can get your courts branded, we can do a live stream and have commercials on the live stream. So we've already identified a lot of these things for ourselves, and now we're helping you as a nonprofit do it. So you as a facility, you can look at, what can we offer to these nonprofits that can give them a leg up to them go sell sponsorship and not have to worry about the management of it. So that'll be a question is, if I'm a facility looking to get started, what's the logistics? How should I get started in, I want to get a nonprofit fundraiser in here? What's the first couple steps I should take?
Yeah, I think kind of the same exact route that we took. So any nonprofit resources, hubs, connection points in your city that can, we have Nonprofit Connect, we have Support KC. Their outreach is for numerous different nonprofits. So that's one way to get in front of them, or just an email. Honestly, I don't think I've had a nonprofit not respond to an email I've sent, because they're dealing with staffing issues across the board. They need help. They need different unique ways for their sponsors to come in, because their sponsors are also looking for new unique opportunities as well. So if a company comes in, or you have a cool unique opportunity to present to this nonprofit, where all they have to do is get a sponsor to say yes, and you bring in another group to partner with, you guys handle everything for that nonprofit, pull it off their plate. That's kind of the best case scenario. But just outreach. I mean, an email is really all it takes. Get a meeting set. And again, I don't think a nonprofit will say no if they have an opportunity in front of them where they have minimal work for an opportunity to put on a cool, unique event that's going to raise funds, that's going to be impactful for them.
I would also say, what are you an expert at? Look at what you offer at your facility. What can you provide to a sponsor or a nonprofit that they can't get anywhere else? If you do X, don't go do Y. Offer X as an opportunity. We are experts on pickleball and cornhole tournaments and other events. Great, we're going to do those in a nonprofit realm. We're not going to do something we know nothing about because that doesn't make sense and we have to go learn everything new. Know something you know how to do and just offer in a different realm, aka nonprofit.
I love it. And so to that, one of the biggest wins we've had is with the VFW. And so I'm actually a veteran, and I'm a lifetime member of the VFW. Their national headquarters is in Kansas City. I worked with them a little bit through COVID. And, one of the challenges that the VFW is having is, younger members joining the VFW because there's been a big gap between wars. And so they're trying to get younger people in that don't think of the VFW as an old place to go smoke and play bingo. And so they're looking at how do we bring younger members in? Well, are you offering things for these younger members? And so we help them identify, hey, let's throw a cornhole tournament at your national convention in Phoenix. And so maybe talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so that was probably one of the coolest things I've done with KC Crew, just, for the VFW, which is an awesome organization. We started working with Lynn Rolfe over there because our headquarters is in Kansas City. You're a veteran, you got the connections, so that kind of made it easy getting in the door, but a lot of the work was after that conversation. So Mitch touched on it, of the cornhole board branded designs, which is, again, it's more than just your name on a banner, and then you go out there and then you leave and you don't see it again. You get that awesome board out there, it's used during the tournament, and then when it's over, you take the board home with you to, again, your house, your office, wherever you want it, and the event lives on afterwards. So we essentially met with them, helped them, we set up a whole landing page for them, really built out, hey, here's the time of day we want to host the tournament, here's how many teams we can have. We helped with the sponsorship side, so we set up a whole sponsorship section and we helped them identify each sponsorship level, what comes with every single thing. We had a Google form. I said, Lynn, I need you to get people to say yes, fill out this form, which is 4 items. I handle the rest. So he got 27 people to say yes. We got 27 different awesome, unique boards created for him. And it was funny. We had about 8 to 10 sponsors. When I was emailing them, they said, oh, we don't care about the boards, just have them out there for the tournament and then donate them off. Every single one of them showed up to the tournament, saw their board and said, screw that, I'm taking it with me, package it up right now. So just to see, our whole idea that we really just made up kind of out of the blue for it to all take place, it all happened, the VFW's goal was to break even. And we helped them raise over $32,000 for a PACT Act benefits assistance program for burn pit victims. So the fact that we blew their break-even number out of the water on the first year of something that we just kind of made up, and it all came together perfectly. Like, we flew out to Phoenix, Mitch and I did. We brought a commentator out. We had a live stream up on our Facebook. You can go see the videos on KC Crew's Facebook right now. We actually did an impromptu match between Humana and USAA, which are 2 pretty big partners of the VFW. So we actually pitted them against each other, and Booch, our commentator, was like, can I talk some smack during this one? So he was making fun of them because they had no idea what they were doing. They were missing the board, and Booch had a blast with it. So it was just cool to, be that new fun thing at the VFW convention. And we met with Lynn afterwards a couple weeks after and heard that all the other vendors were like, hey, what the hell are they doing? We want to be part of that cornhole tournament. So to see just everything that we thought it would be come together and actually take place was the coolest thing about it. And we'll be back at the national convention every year for the rest of the time, probably.
I hope so. Yeah, it was really cool to see that execute. I couldn't join you guys. I had a newborn baby, but really, really excited to see you guys take that, run with it, and just make it amazing. And so for me, the coolest thing is, like, we took an idea that the VFW already has a lot of fundraising efforts. They have a lot of partners and sponsorship. They're a very, very big organization. But to be able to take an idea that we thought would work, we knew would work, and them take a chance on it and actually more than succeed and help bring in younger members, help bring in more vendors, more sponsors that are interested, foresee it year to grow year after year was really, really cool, and I think a huge win. To take nothing and then help them raise $32,000 off of something we do every single day was a really cool thing.
I think also we did the goal of people talking about the national convention and wanting to go next year. People are already like, oh, we need to plan our meetings around that so we can go play in the cornhole tournament. Getting people to post sponsoring teams to go play. So it's post playing the cornhole tournament. That way they get their post versus post and state versus state. So people are already talking about who's going to play in it next year. So
awesome. Well, thanks again for joining me guys today on the Facility Playbooks. You know, we talked nonprofit events. We've already talked about leagues and tournaments. So if you're looking for some education around leagues and tournaments, how to run them, how they work, check out future episodes with Casey Crew. If you're looking to automate your facility, check out facilityally.com. Last thing, you know, what's one tip you'd give somebody in the facility world to working with nonprofits?
I would say, I touched on it earlier, but don't be afraid to just reach out, send the email. That's all it takes. You know, they're looking for help. They need help. They need an easy way for them to help generate more money in a unique, fun way. So just active outreach, and then make sure that you're accomplishing their goals too. So, you know, most of the time fundraising is going to be a massive piece of it, but they could also be looking to find a way to bring in the younger generation. So if you're a facility that hosts pickleball or has a turf field where you can do a soccer tournament, something for, you know, that's young, low barrier to entry, has a younger demographic to it, that's really, you know, that's probably going to be a big piece of what these nonprofits are looking for. Because as, you know, the generation who goes out the door with the golf tournaments and the galas, they need something to refill that. And that's what they're looking for as part of the events, who are coming in with these new, you know, fun, younger, active events as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thanks for joining the Facility Playbook. We'll see you next time.